Hi, my name is Megan Harley-Buller and I work for the Football Services team at London FA. In this session, we will be going through the discipline regulation changes for the season 24-25 season. The key headline changes for this coming season are separate tariffs for attempted and actual offences, sanction and reduction for serious offences for those aged 12 to 15, spitting is now sanctioned separately, the respect sanction system has been removed and the current penalty point system has been simplified. Parties are responsible for their own costs. A Sinbin Caution is now a standard caution. So the general regulation amendments. There are numerous references to player. These have now been changed so that it references a participant. This is to reflect that it is not just players that are subject to the disciplinary regulations. Regulation 8. If a participant has more than one misconduct charge relating to an incident or a match, this means there will be one admin fee of £15. Just to note that if there is a participant charge and a club charge, this does have separate administration fees. Regulation 24. With regards to the decisions of disciplinary commissions for mistaken identity claims being final and binding. Again, Regulation 36 is another clarification with regards to decisions of disciplinary commissions for wrongful dismissal claims being final and binding. So Regulation 26. This is clarification that the electronic system operated by the FA or email notification is permitted for claims of wrongful dismissal. Regulation 63. Suspensions from all football on rare occasions can be disproportionate. Therefore, the procedure for this has now been clearly defined within the regulations, whereby an application can be sent to the relevant affiliated association in respect to this. The decision as to whether the sanction is disproportionate would be made by the regional discipline manager and not the county FA. Regulation 111. This has been amended that a participant charge is now also able to reply to this instead of just being the club secretary. Regulation 120. Disciplinary commissions going forward will not impose a financial penalty onto a player that is under the age of 18 and participating in youth football. For clarity, if an under 18-year-old is participating in adult football, then a financial penalty can be imposed on that player. Regulation 6. Payment of any fine or costs in respect to disciplinary matters must be paid in accordance with the terms set out by the affiliated association. Where a fine is imposed by these regulations for a cautionable offence or a sending off offence committed by a player who is under the age of 18 and participating in youth football, the relevant club at the time of the offence must pay the fine. Regulation 136. There are a large number of players that play for more than one club. This is so there is clear communication to all clubs that the player plays for. Suspension start dates from now on will not automatically populate. Where there is either a match-based or day-based suspension, the start date of the suspension will be dictated by the commission hearing the charge, which will commence on a Monday, but must also allow sufficient time for an intention to appeal to be submitted. And then there's clarification on category 5 football for both further education now being education and with youth being removed as currently it sits under Saturday type or Sunday type, etc. Sinbin regulation amendments. So Sinbin Caution will now have a notification fee applied to it as per other cautionable and sending off offences. The commencement of suspension, so any period of suspension arising from an accumulation of cautions or a sending off offence or multiple temporary dismissals will commence on the 7th day following either the date of the last offence in relation to an accumulation of cautions or the date of the relevant offence in relation to multiple temporary dismissals and sending off offences, irrespective of whether the paperwork has been received from the relevant affiliated association. So penalty points. For example, previously when a team has hit 75 penalty points, a misconduct charge would be raised. This has now been removed as it would seem to be double jeopardy. Calculating penalty points totals. This now allows commissions to issue penalty points to both a non-playing participant charge and also a club charge. The number of penalty points incurred for each sending off offence and each proving charge during the playing season are as follows. There are some notable changes to the penalty points added to each area, with some being removed as well. Dissent is now 4 penalty points. All other caution offences do not have penalty points associated to them anymore. Spitting at an opponent has increased from 7 to 10 penalty points. Violent conduct has increased from 6 to 7 penalty points. Offensive, insulting or abusive language and or gestures has increased from 4 to 7 penalty points. Receiving a second caution in the same match, but only when both arise from dissent, has increased from 3 to 6 penalty points. This is in addition to the penalty points incurred for the first dissent caution. Proven misconduct charges between 5 and 10 penalty points at the discretion of the disciplinary commission, or 7 to 10 disciplinary points at the discretion of the disciplinary panel, where the charge is determined by the FA National Serious Case Panel. The 75 penalty point misconduct charge has now been removed. At 25 points, a warning is now issued whereby the club can seek assistance from the County FA to improve its disciplinary record. On 50 points, an automatic £75 will be issued to the club. Accumulation of penalty points. So when we get to 100 penalty point sanction, a club is issued with a misconduct charge. The disciplinary commission will have the option of imposing a fine, an imposition of an action plan, suspension or cancellation of the club's affiliation and or England football accreditation status, and or order that a subsequent misconduct charge is raised if the club hit a specified amount of penalty points, for example, 125 points. Offences against a match official. So some of these suspension timeframes will be covered at the end of this little section. Threatening a match official, whether through words or actions, and regardless of whether the match official believes that they have been threatened. The fine was previously £100, it is now £200, with the mandatory minimum, which was £50, has increased to £100. A mandatory education programme completion before the end of the time-based suspension. Physical contact, attempted physical contact on a match official. The fine was previously £150, it is now £250, with the mandatory minimum previously being £75, has now increased to £150. A mandatory education programme completion for the end of the time-based suspension or within 28 days of the disciplinary commission's decision, whichever is the latter. Assault or attempted assault on a match official. They are taking out the causing and or attempting to cause injury by spitting. Assault or attempted assault on a match official, not including spitting. The mandatory education programme completion before the end of the time-based suspension. Assault or attempted assault on match official, including spitting. Suspension details, as I said earlier, will be covered towards the end of this section. It will include a mandatory education programme completion before the end of the time-based suspension or within 28 days of the disciplinary commission's decision, whichever is the latter. We now go on to the sanctions with regards to match official. They are now threatening behaviour, 112 days to 182 days with a recommended entry point of 147 days. Attempted physical contact, 112 days to 1 year with a recommended entry point of 238 days. Physical contact, 182 days to 2 years with a recommended entry point of 1 year. Attempted assault, not including spitting, 3 to 5 years with a recommended entry point of 4 years. Assault, not including spitting, 5 to 10 years with a recommended entry point of 7 years. Assault, including spitting, 2 to 8 years with a recommended entry point of 4 years. You will see within the additional consideration column where the subject is the charge of a participant aged between 12 and 15-year-old inclusive at the time of the alleged offence, the applicable sanction range, recommended entry point and standard minimum suspension shall be reduced by 50%, rounded to the nearest whole number of days. Assaults by participants. This has now been changed to an assault by a participant. This now allows for conduct towards spectators, etc., which would not have been included within the previous wording of the regulation. They have also removed serious bodily harm and it is now replaced with serious injury. Costs. This is just a rewording to cover the removal of paragraph 51 and includes 52.1, where it defines that all costs that are incurred with regards to disciplinary charges are the responsibility of the participant charged or the club. So just to run through the key headlines again. There's separate tariffs for attempted and actual offences. Sanction reduction of serious offences for those aged 12 to 15. Split in sanctions separately. The respect sanction system removed and currently penalty points system simplified. Parties are responsible for their own costs. Sinbin Caution is now a standard caution. If you have any questions surrounding these rule amendments, please email discipline@londonfa.com. Thank you for your time today.